So, hello again, everyone. Today is May 7th, and we are having our 90-minute virtual session. You are going to find the recording on our YouTube channel after the session is over. And today we have our speaker, Krista Martin. She is an MBA holder and also CPCC and PCC. She's the president and the founder of Make Your Mark Company and the Six Figure Impact Academy. As a sought after speaker and business coach, she teaches her clients how to fill their coaching programs through speaking and scale their business to multiple six figures. We all want that. Through building and selling her first side business, also 12 plus years in corporate, and scaling her own coaching business to seven figures, she discovered how keeping things simple allows you to create faster results and have more fun. She also supports homeless animals and shelters with the goal of all pets living in a happy and healthy home. To find out more about Krista, you can visit her website at makeyourmark.com, www.makeyourmark.com. Without further ado, I want to introduce Krista. The floor is all yours.
Thank you very much. And I am beyond thrilled to be here. So excited that I even jumped in earlier and I said, oh, it's time to talk. It's time to talk. So really excited to be with you today. And my goal is to make this the most fun webinar you have ever been on. So, the bar has been set high. We will have a lot of fun. We're going to learn a lot of stuff. And, as we go through too, if you have questions, feel free to add them to the chat and I'll answer them on the spot if it makes sense and I can do that easily. Otherwise, I'll hold them till the end and make sure that I like to say we leave no questions unanswered. So we'll make sure you get everything you need to really feel confident about rocking the stage and selling more of your offers. So let me do a quick screen share and I've got some slides. Let's see if we can get these to cooperate. I know it's always it's usually a user cooperation, not so much a, let's see, host. Okay, does it allow me to, or it's saying it's not enabled to share this, if that's possible to please share that.
Yeah, I will make you the co-host. I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, that's okay. No problem at all.
Okay, so you are
I'm
the
used to
co-host.
someone who,
You can share it now.
oh, perfect. Okay. Let me see if we do that, and then I will make it. Can you all see the main slide? Oh,
We
we
can. It's small though, so if you
have-
can make it bigger so everyone can see it, if you can expand it.
Is it only, you mean like it's the slide preview?
Yeah, I see the slide on one part on one half, and the other half is the next slide.
Okay, see, this is the fun. You get to speak and have some fun adventures too with this. So what I will do then is I will try something even more fancy. So get ready. Is
Woohoo.
this working or is this working?
It
Okay.
is working, both working and working.
Okay, perfect. I guess that's a loaded question, right? It's like when you ask your kids, do you want vegetables for dinner or vegetables? And they, don't have a whole lot of choice, or you want green beans or peas. But in any event, super excited to be here. And as, has been shared, we're really going to talk about today one of my favorite things on the planet, which is speaking your way to more clients, income, and impact. And that's really where our focus is going to be. We're going to have a couple breakout rooms. I invite each of you to keep your camera on if you're able to, because I think we just have more fun when we can see each other's beautiful faces, but it also helps us stay engaged and get the most out of our time together as possible too. And so as we're getting ready, I know it was already shared, but in case anybody still needs to grab it, you can go to makeyourmark.com/, and it's a whole bunch of letters, ICF Orange County. And that will link you right to the guide that you may already have grabbed. But if for some reason you need to grab that, this will be your note taker, question capturer, your space for all things awesome while we're together today. And I invite you to be fully present for our time together. It is very easy to be one of the many people on this planet that's overwhelmed, multitasking, and doing 48 different things while we're together. And so I invite you to put your phone to the side if that's possible to do, and just take a few deep breaths and be fully present for what we're going to cover today. Your business, your clients, and you deserve exactly what you're going to gain from this session. The breakthroughs you're looking for are here. Even if the material might sound familiar in some shape or form, you're going to be able to get your breakthrough when you're present and fully with us. I always like to share this reminder, as we all have that wonderful ego or inner critic that'll say, just kidding, you already know this, you don't need to listen, or I don't want to do that. Or the classic, I'm going to stop and then start and then stop and then start. I don't know if any of you all have done that in your business and that's actually a huge waste of energy when we're back and forth. And so noticing those voices and just reminding yourself that as we're going to cover so much good stuff today, as a mentor once reminded me, and I lovingly, well, at the time it wasn't a loving feeling, but I wanted to kick her in the shins. I didn't. I held myself back. And the reason I wanted to kick her is because it held a lot of truth for me and really shined a light on something I had been busy doing at that point. And I love this quote because, as you can see, it's to know and not do is to not yet know. And as coaches, as people building big things, it can get scary, or we might choose to hide or not even realize we're choosing that behind the learning. And so just looking at your own business and your own life, even to ask yourself, what am I knowing but not actually doing? And what am I being the expert in, but not maybe actually doing the steps and becoming masterful in it. And when you look for those opportunities, you'll always find them. And it really highlights your path forward in an exciting way. And so you are in the right place today if you are speaking, but you're not consistently filling your coaching program. So you might be doing it once in a while, or even educating people and feeling like you're educating them more than you're getting them to take action. You're also in the right place today if you're tired of the roller coaster ride and the feast or famine cycle. 1 month everything's going great, and the next month you think, oh my gosh, what in the world is happening? You're also in the right place if you're perhaps exhausted and frustrated because you know that you are working way too hard and way too many hours for the payoff that you're currently seeing in your business. You're also in the right place today if you're overwhelmed with all the options for marketing your business. Because let's be honest, there's at least 30 new ways every day. You're also in the right place, which is even more important, if you know in your heart that you're meant to succeed. If you're being honest, that you're here to do this big work. And share in the chat if this resonates with you, or you're saying, yes, Krista, if there's a fun emoji, you can put in the chat and just say, yep, I'm in the right place today. Woo, click the right Zoom link. I'm in the right space that I need to be able to really gain the insights and breakthrough to your next level. And yes, I see several, yes, I'm in the right place, which is fantastic. And some fun emojis too. I like the upside down smiley face. That's one of my favorite. Always a good one there. And so the great news, I have lots of great news for you today, but specifically, I want you to know that regardless of what you've tried in the past and what has worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, we're going to leave that in the past. And I'm going to share with you exactly what's worked for us to grow my business, what works for our clients. And while I think our clients are amazing people, and they don't have any magic powers or magic skill sets. So if they can do it, and if I can do it, this will absolutely work for you. We're going to cover loads of good stuff, and we'll look at specifically the fastest way to fill your one-on-one client roster and or your coaching programs. Common mistakes coaches make when creating their client converting talk, which is a mouthful, and exactly what to do instead. You're also going to discover the most important and often overlooked part of your speaking strategy. It's easy to jump right to the content, but we're going to talk about some pieces you really want to think about beforehand. And then, of course, I'm going to give you so much more goodness too that you're going to have lots of notes and lots of exciting steps to be taking moving forward. So you might be saying, okay, so Krista, who are you and why in the world are you, someone that I can listen to or should be listening to about speaking to grow your business? And this is my attempt at humor. Oh, I am so glad you asked because you didn't really ask, but I want to share with you just a quick little bit about me so you can see, that I can be trusted to share this with you. And so I've been in business, which is crazy to think, over 10 years. And I did it really wrong for the majority of, especially at the beginning of building my business. I did basically anything under the sun. I was speaking, I was not getting clients, and I was networking. I was, doing the things more behind the scenes than getting out like I needed to grow my business. And, one of the things that I want you to know, in addition to, the path that I'll share with you in a second of how we grew our business, is that, right now I'm so passionate about helping coaches to create thriving businesses through speaking, because it's the exact thing that led us to go from $40,000 one year to over $220,000 within 12 months. We then leveraged the same strategy to hit $500,000. Shortly thereafter, we crossed the seven-figure mark. And I'm not sharing this to brag. I'm sharing this because you might be similar to me in that my brain likes to see proof. You can tell me all these things, but unless I see somebody that's done it, I don't really believe it. And so I like to stretch your brain, make your brain wiggle, and to give you proof that your growth doesn't have to be slow and it doesn't have to be incremental unless you say that it does. So a big hint, let's not say it does. So we are really going to talk about today how speaking can do that when you integrate the key elements of it into your business. Let me know in the chat with a fun emoji. Upside down faces are welcome if you're up for ditching incremental growth, if that sounds like something you're interested in. And I can do some dancing. My kids usually tell me not to dance on camera, especially when it might be on YouTube, as I heard. So I probably need to contain my excitement there for the benefit of everyone. All right, so I'm seeing some smiling faces. Fantastic. We are really going to look at how to uncomplicate this whole marketing thing and how you can grow wherever you are. If you might have thought in the past, maybe you were in a corporate role like I was, and I was just trained it has to be slow. If you work really hard, you can make this much incremental next year. It doesn't have to work that way in your own business if you don't want to. So we have a lot to cover today, and we're going to, and you can tell I talk fast when I get excited, and I love this topic. So I'm going to give you loads of good stuff. And in the time together we have, there's no way that I could teach you every single piece that you need to implement this process into your business. So I will give you a free way to continue the conversation at the end if you're inspired to do so. And so I don't want you to have pressure on yourself to get every single nugget, but to know that, I won't leave you hanging. That's a good way to make friends, is to make sure we don't leave people hanging and yet keep everybody supported if you feel like you need that beyond our time together today. And so in a second here, I'm going to ask to break into break rooms because I would like to invite you to share what would be different for you. How would you feel if you knew exactly how to consistently, and I wish I could underline that word, bring in 3 to 5 or more new clients each month through speaking? What would be different in your life, in your business? If 3 to 5, maybe you have a different number, how would you feel? What would that look like? And if we could do maybe 3 people in a room for 5 minutes, so not a whole lot of time, but, a little bit more than a minute each to share, oh my gosh, what would be different for you?
How long? 5 minutes?
Oh, yes, if we could do 5 minutes, please,
5 minutes.
or 6 minutes if that's easier, and then we can say everybody gets 2 minutes.
Okay.
Welcome back. It's either everybody gets slammed in all at once, or sometimes we have people trickle in,
We
so it's
trickle on it. Yeah.
yeah, which works perfectly, but, excited to see you both.
Nice
And
to see you also, Krista.
you're like just what I've been waiting my whole life. And for those of you just joining us back, we're sharing in the chat some of the things that would be possible for you, that would be possible in your life and in your business if you knew exactly how to bring in those 3 to 5 new, amazing, ideal clients through speaking. Okay, and so I see some saying, actually, I'd like to be slightly less. I have a near full practice, way to expand my reach, steady income, more income, build coach education programs. Yes, and I can just sense the energy on this less stress. I see a lot about community building as well, and the income is, and the happy and the excited. I love that. That's really a beautiful outcome of it too, that you get to share your message in a really big way. And, those are, of course, income is a huge reason to bring in clients. And there are also these other side benefits that some of you hinted at here that I want to share with you too. We always want to make sure anytime we're talking about a marketing strategy, for example, that we feel aligned with it on multiple levels, that it's not just because Krista said it's a great marketing strategy, but we say, hey, this aligns with me, with my values, with the impact I want to make. So obviously, it's a great way to fill your coaching programs. It also positions you as a leader, which is hugely important. And it also reminds yourself sometimes when you have a little bit of imposter syndrome sneaking in that you do have a powerful message to share. It helps you to develop your confidence, practicing your message. You also get to expand your reach. There's so many people you can impact by, if you think about sharing your message, it doesn't necessarily have to be that they can work with you right now. Now may not be the perfect time. You can still inspire them to get into positive action. One of my favorite things is to practice messaging because, I led a 3-day event several years ago, and I talked about how your growth doesn't have to be incremental unless you say it does. And it was almost like the room erupted with everybody saying, yes, I don't want slow incremental growth. And that's really where I got the clarity. Okay, this really resonates with my right fit people. So you can also get feedback on messaging. I've also tried other messaging where it feels like it's crickets out there. So you get very quick feedback and can make decisions on the spot and shift as needed. It also creates what I call a halo effect, that people say, oh my gosh, Karen, I've seen you speaking, or you're doing this event. I can't be there, but that reminds me, I need to reach out to you and talk to you about working together. And it kind of creates this buzz or halo, if you want to think about it too, where people say, you're someone, they don't say these words usually, you're someone worth knowing. And I've been meaning to reach out and to have that conversation. It allows you to stand out in a sea of coaches that can feel like it's a sea of sameness because you're sharing your message, you're doing really big work. One of my favorite things on the planet is too, that it's controllable. We actually had a group call today, and we are talking about how we don't wait to get invited. We throw our own party. And that's what it really am meaning here is we don't have to wait. We can create our own events. We can host our own, we can go to groups that are gathering our ideal person very quickly and easily. It's also can be extremely inexpensive, low tech, and repeatable. The year we grew from 40 to 220, I'm not kidding when I say, and I'm a creature of habit, I like routine, but I did the same talk over and over and over that entire year that we grew. So my dog, my mailman, my spouse, probably everybody within a mile's radius could repeat my talk word for word because I had given it so many times. So it does not have to be complicated. So when you look at this, share in the chat which one, if any of these, really jumps out at you as, oh, that's something I'd either forgotten about, or that really resonates with me. And that's a new reason that maybe you're even more committed to leveraging speaking as a strategy in your business. And I'll see what we get here in the positions as a leader. Absolutely. And the confidence piece, it's really very, very valuable. And I don't, it's funny that many people would rate this up there with death, but I promise you we're not going to make it. We're going to demystify that part and have a lot of fun as we get into the nuts and bolts of really how to convert clients from this. So when we look at some of the mistakes that coaches often make, and whenever I share mistakes, I want to be totally clear. I have made at least all of these 100 times, probably more, and a bunch of others. So I'm never coming from I am above any of this because I've done all of these. But I also know we learn really quickly when we can learn from other people's mistakes. So the first one goes back to my corporate days of not doing an after action review, which in a nutshell is what went great, what went not so great, what do I want to do differently next time? When we can take the time to pause and reflect, we can pull the lessons forward that we need to go even faster. Usually, what do? We're driving to the grocery store and we're like, oh yeah, I'm doing my debrief in my head. And then we go into the grocery store and that was our debrief. So take the time to actually do this, write it down, harness the lessons so you can grow faster. They really treat the speaking engagement as a standalone speaking engagement. Nothing happens after the event. There aren't emails, there isn't follow-up, it's just done. And very first event I hosted, I was very surprised at how much actually happens after the event. I had no idea. They also do what I call PSing, the call to action. And so I'm going to ask you to raise your hand and just share. If you've ever been to a talk, you don't have to tell on if it was you or not, that the call to action was, here's my LinkedIn profile, or here's my email address. Just let me know if you want more information. We've all probably been to talks like that where they don't actually honor the call to action in a way that invites that person to take that next step. That's what I call PSing it, because it's like, oh yeah, by the way, here's my last slide as people are walking out the doors. They're also not following a proven framework for a talk that converts. We're actually doing an entire program just on the framework for a talk that converts. So there's a lot of steps here, and a lot of people believe spaghetti is a strategy. And spaghetti might be great for dinner. It is not a strategy that we want to use when it comes to speaking. And then I'd love to hear too with, maybe raising your hand as well. We can just do the actual raising of hand or both hands. We could do that to be fun. If you have seen for yourself that you may be doing what we call over educating, where you're giving so much value, so much content, but you're not actually activating your audience, that they give you great feedback. You get great feedback at the end of the talk, but you're not necessarily getting clients. And let me know, we can do again, I'm not supposed to dance on YouTube, but I can tell the kids, whatever. I had some dance partners with me, but if you recognize yourself in that, you are in very, very good company. And so there is a very intentional way you can give great value, and you can activate your person to raise their hand and say, I want to know more about Karen or Kayla or Gail. I want to buy their book. I want to sign up for a conversation, whatever your call to action is. And so you'll see this on the guide in front of you, and we're going to go through each of these steps in more detail. So you don't have to write them all down unless you want to. And really what we're looking at is this is not how to get paid to speak. While some of our clients absolutely get paid to speak along the way, and that's a beautiful benefit. But we're looking at how to take an unpaid speaking engagement and then end up with clients as a result of it. I spoke at, I think it was ICF Converge several years ago, and it was a completely unpaid talk. And I can track over $100,000 in income to that one presentation. While I might think I'm the greatest keynote in the world, and I don't think I'm the greatest keynote in the world, but even if I was, I don't know that I could command $100,000 in a speaker fee. Plus, I love helping clients do the work. So I just want you to see that there is a way to turn an unpaid engagement into a paid engagement, which is what we're talking about here. So if you had to say, if this success of 3 to 5 or more clients a month, or, if I remember a few people said they wanted a few less per month, maybe every other month, is possible, why do you think, and I'd love to see this in the chat, why do you think more coaches aren't speaking regularly? What holds them back from being on more stages? This might be something that you notice for yourself, or you've heard coach colleagues share as well, that I want to speak more, but then they insert their, and I'll say with air quotes, reason that, they're not ready for it, or they can't for whatever reason. And I'm going to grab a quick drink while. Yes, not sure how to put the talk together, fear, lack of a confidence. It's harder to get people to attend. Travel, the ability to connect with groups who need the message and they haven't built a rep for having enough to carry the stage, maybe unsure where to do the presentation. Oh my gosh, all of these, how to find places to present. Absolutely. And we'll touch on this here in a little bit. But those are all great reasons that prevent amazing coaches just like you from sharing your message in a bigger way. And so as we think about, what this looks like, it can look a million different ways. Many times there is the fears or the how do I figure this out? How do I sell when I can't sell? How do I make an offer without being pushy? Like you shared, how do I put the talk together? How do I follow up afterwards? And, when we have this, it's also when we have this doubt, as you all know, I lovingly call it I don't know if I can say a bad word on YouTube, so I'll say the SHIT spiral, because I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube. But this is what can happen. Oh, look, I didn't get booked. Look, that's proving my story. Oh, look, I'm going to stay, small, or I'm not getting traction in my business. Maybe I'm not meant to do this. This is when you don't have, this is that first component that I talked about, the inner game. When you don't have a robust structure around this, I also refer to this as your 10X identity. So, thinking of showing up as that version of you that's creating 10X the results you're creating today. So if you have a $100,000 coaching business, what does that 10X version of you, the $1 million version of you, show up like? How does she or he take the stage? How do they plan? How do they prepare? And then how can you take clues from that version of yourself and start doing that? Because when you do that, you'll notice that you have inspiring energy. And I want you to know energy follows energy. You've probably been to a million talks too, that not a million, but probably a handful at least of talks where you're like, oh, that was decent content, but man, that presenter was about to fall asleep. And what does that do to you? That kills your energy as well. And when you show up with this energy, you're going to take more action. Guess what? More action creates more results. And you might even do this things we sometimes forget our business is here to help us do. We have fun. And we're like, oh yeah, that thing that I kind of said I wanted at the very beginning, this is me being able to do that. So what we'll do is we go through all of these components today is I'm going to give you an opportunity to self-rate yourself. So you have this on your paper on a scale of 1 to 10. So at the completion of our time together, you can say, Krista, I'm a 10 on this, I'm a 2 on this. So maybe I'm going to focus my energy where I'm a 2, for example. And there's no right or wrong number, but I do want you to just jot down on your paper, on the inner game, how would you rate yourself? Are you showing up as that 10X version of yourself regularly? Or you may be showing up as, sometimes that 2022 version of you, or that was so last year, me, when I was worried about that. And so the 1 might be that, you're not really focusing on this, and a 10 would be, heck yeah, my 10X self runs the show. The next element that we'll look at, and this is all things we want to look at and consider before we're actually taking the stage as well, is this expert positioning. And so this really, in a nutshell, is how you are showing your story, you're connecting to the audience with your credibility, your differentiator, and they're saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to lean in and listen because I can hear in her what or him what I want to be true for my life. Or maybe it's a relationship coach and they've come up with this framework for really creating awesome relationships. Well, fantastic. You're inspired because they're having a great time in their relationship. And so they're your after of where you're presently in your before stage. So you can see success. And this, I mentioned that it takes place even before you get on the stage. This is something we work with clients and we'll create what I call a power packet. That's essentially when you're speaking in person, they get some materials on their chair that positions you, that keeps you or puts you head and shoulders above the next presenter who could be sharing the exact same content, but it shows you've done your work, you've created these materials. And what are they doing while they're sitting in their seat waiting for you to come? They're reading about you. They're reading about your company. Maybe they're reading client testimonials. So think about how can you really position yourself from the moment that someone walks into the room, whether virtual or in person. And when we're thinking about your story, one of the fun places to look is what, if you were your ideal client, what would you most want to know about you before taking the next step? So I'll give you an example. It's usually something you're not sharing because you're thinking it's not relevant or it makes you look bad. It's usually that thing. And you're probably like, Krista, I'm not going to share that thing. But what I want you to think about is the example of this relationship coach that I spoke about. And I asked her and I said, what are you not sharing that could be valuable and could motivate your audience to say, yes, I want to learn more about this coach? And she said, well, of course, I'm not sharing that I got a divorce. And I said, bingo. I said, that's absolutely what we need to share because it shows your ideal client that you don't always have to get it perfectly right. You weren't born knowing, all the secrets to a successful relationship. And you can go from maybe a point of, if she considered that a point of despair to a point of happiness. When I looked at myself this way, I said, what am I not sharing? And I don't know if any of you resonate with this, but I had also drawn a line in the sand for some reason. I thought everything that happened before my coaching business started didn't exist when it came to my coaching business. I had corporate amnesia. But I realized, oh, I have my MBA in marketing, and that wasn't something that I was sharing. But I thought, well, heck yeah, that's relevant to my ideal client. I would be interested in if I hire a business coach, I want them to know some of the actual book stuff, not just the real life stuff too. So think about what are you not sharing and how can you bring that into your expert positioning that, yes, you include in your talk, but you also will include in your materials. It'll start to be infused in all aspects of your marketing. And when you have this, your audience starts to connect with you much more quickly. And when they connect with you, they listen more deeply. And when they listen more deeply, they get more insights and more breakthroughs, and they're more likely to raise their hand and do the thing that you're going to ask them to do at the very end. When you don't position yourself clearly as an expert, or you think, in a group call the other day too, we were talking about how sometimes people think, well, I put it on my LinkedIn profile. Why do people not know it? That's not enough. We get to share it multiple times. When you aren't doing this work, you're going to blend in with everyone else. It's going to feel hard. You're going to also notice this push energy because no one's taking action. So you're feeling like you almost have to, reach out to the audience and say, sign up for the call or do the thing. And that's not how we want to share our message in a way that feels good. So on your paper, make a note of where you would say you fall on the expert positioning of a 10 being, rocking this, I do this, it's in all of my marketing, and a 1 would be like, okay, this is something maybe I've dabbled with, but I could put more time and energy and attention towards this. And share your rating if you don't mind in the chat, just so I can get an idea of where everybody is on this spectrum. And let's see, and all right, so a 2, an 8, a 3, an 8, fantastic. An 8, so we've got a 6. All of these numbers, it's like Strengths Finder. They're all perfect numbers. You know, it's like your strengths, they're the perfect ones, and they absolutely are. And this is giving you, again, a place to look and say, okay, cool. When I see something in my business that isn't where I want it to be, that's awesome, because it shows us exactly where to focus our energy to get where we want to be. We're starting to see that roadmap forward. The next step is what several of you commented about, is how in the world do I find speaking gigs? You know, or one of the mistakes I see coaches make all the time is waiting for someone to tap them on the shoulder and say, you know, hey, Jennifer, I'm ready for you to speak on this topic. You know, and while we know Jennifer has some great awesomeness to share, this is where you get to lead your business. And this is what I was saying. We had the conversation about, we don't wait to be invited to the party, we host our own party. And so that's not, I mean, it can look like hosting your own events, or roundtables is one way we teach clients when they're first getting started. You can also look at speaking on other people's stages. You know, looking at how, for example, I'm here at the ICF, you know, at your chapter, and I'm not a member of your chapter. I am a ICF member, but I'm creating value. I know my ideal client, which is everyone in this session, and I know that how to create value in a presentation. And that's what you want to think about. So you can reach out, like we have a team, or my team will reach out to the ICF chapters, you know, or other places to get booked. So the cool thing is that you don't have to wait. You can wait. It's just I'm not patient. And you can also create your own events. One thing I did, I was offered the opportunity to speak in Kansas City. My family lives in Missouri, and this was years ago. And I always, at that point, I was like, I just want my business to pay for a trip to see my family. That just felt like a big milestone for some reason. And so I got the opportunity to speak. It was unpaid in Kansas City. And so I said, how do I make that a profitable event? I mean, one thing, I was already had my quote company paying for my, you know, trip to see my family while I was there. But then I said, okay, I'm going to reach out to other organizations in the area. And I got a short TV segment. I got to lead a roundtable and another speaking engagement, which not only created that halo effect that I was talking about, but also brought in more clients and gave me greater visibility. So you can, you know, whether it looks like that or something different, there's a way to create energy and buzz and almost create like a mini launch like I did. You know, I created my own speaking tour in Kansas City for those couple days that I was there. When you're getting booked, there's a process we teach clients, but in a nutshell, it is, you know, where you can find where your ideal client is already being gathered, and we can find those places that ideally are actually looking for speakers on a regular basis. You can also host your own events. You know, you can think about this as a Facebook Live or LinkedIn Live that you might have done as well. But depending on where you are in your business building journey, I want you to know that the year we went from 40 to 220, I think I had about 100 people on my email list. And I was probably related to most of them. They were my neighbors, friends, or relatives in most cases. And I'm sharing that just in case you might have the story that I had. I can't do this till I have a bigger following. You can absolutely serve other people's audiences, and we can show you how to do that. You also want to know that, yes, it is about, you know, preparing and reaching out and having that engagement strategy. But then the most important F word that you see on here, number 5, is how to follow up and stay in touch and in conversation with groups. Because just like for the ICF, for example, I realize that every single person, or at least that I know of, that is coordinating speakers, guess what? They're volunteers. They're doing this of their own accord. Their job isn't, oh, I can't wait to get Krista booked. You know, they may be thinking that, I can't wait to hear her talk, but they're running their own coaching business. So not taking it personally, and also realizing, how do we stay in touch in a way that feels good, that honors them, and also doesn't feel pushy to me? Because if it feels pushy to you, remember that energy follows energy, and they will absorb that. Even if they're the most amazing person in the world, they're going to say, oh, I'll come back to that later. So making sure you have a follow-up strategy. When you have this in place, it literally is a game changer because, again, you get to be in control of how and when you speak in front of your clients. You get to be in charge of it. You also feel confident because it's predictable, it's consistent. I keep referring to that year we grew from 40 to 220, and that was my goal. Said, okay, I want to speak in front of other people's audiences at least twice a month. That was my goal, twice a month. I did the same talk. I knew who my audience was. I knew how to create a topic that really drew my right fit people in. And then I knew how to structure the talk so that the right fit people would raise their hand. I did the same talk. And I just want you to hear the simplicity of same talk. You could do different talks if you wanted, but you could do the same talk. And you start to feel less stressed because you know what to say, when to reach out. You actually have this system in place. When I was doing this myself before I had a team, I would bribe myself because I didn't love following up with people with a Starbucks cake pop and my favorite latte. So each week I would go and they're probably like, oh, there's cake pop and latte lady. But I would sit there and that's when I would go through the follow-up process. And I blocked a couple hours. So if you need to do that for yourself, but really look at honoring this and creating this process for yourself. When you don't have this in place, and some of you may be saying, yep, that's me, as you feel frustrated, you may waste time and energy because you're reaching out to all these places, but you're not following up, but then you can't remember and you sort of did it. And then someone follows up and you think, oh gosh, did I even respond to them? You're going to notice you get inconsistent results. So you're likely going to even wonder, is speaking even working for me? You're going to miss out on opportunities. One of the best ways I've gotten some speaking engagements is I've been the follow-up person who even said, hey, I realize you're booked for such and such. If something happens or changes last minute, I'm local. As long as you give me, a day's notice, I'd be happy to fill in. I have this talk and you know what? I have been taken up on that almost every time. People get sick, plans change, a flight gets canceled. And guess what? You became that group's favorite person all of a sudden. So you want to make sure you have a process for this. And I'd love for you to share in the chat where you would rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being, oh my gosh, I've got this in place. I'm getting booked, once or twice a month, whatever your goal might be. And a 1 could say, Krista, this is a huge opportunity for me. And I'm realizing I'm going to focus a lot of time and energy here moving forward. And I'll share some of the numbers we have. I see some 1s and a 2 and a 1. Okay, this is awesome. And a 4 and a 1. I feel like great numbers. And I want you to know all of this is absolutely doable and and once you have this in place, it makes it easy. Because then you get to be the person, like we talked about earlier, where you're speaking and bringing in 3 to 5 clients, not only each month, but maybe each time you speak. Then we look at the next part of the framework is a talk that converts. And we actually have a proprietary process for this. And if you haven't noticed by now, I love systems and I love systems within systems. So that's where this comes from. But we actually teach a 6-step process that naturally leads that person from, the very beginning of the talk all the way to the end, which is a powerful point of decision to say, oh my gosh, can I be in the same place in 6 months? Am I okay with that? If I'm not okay with being in the same place in 6 months, am I willing to take the action and reach out and, take the next step that Karen is offering me, buying a book, going to a workshop, signing up for a call? And you can do that without being salesy or pushy or saying, buy today and you get a free set of knives. None of that has to happen. And I share that because I hear that all the time. Like, I don't want to be pushy. You totally do not. There doesn't have to be any pushy part of it. Most people do this backwards and they actually start with their talk before they've even thought through some of the other pieces of, who is their ideal client, of getting booked, what message do they need to hear, or they'll, say, this is what I want to teach about versus, even thinking, what action do I want my client or my potential client to take at the end of the talk? Thinking, what do they need to think, feel, or believe or do to have that shift or take that action? And then how do we create that in the talk? When we think that way, it becomes a lot easier than, here's AI has been on my mind lately, and I see AI companion in front of me on Zoom. So I heard someone sharing the other day, they were doing a talk about AI use in leadership. That might be that they're passionate about AI and leadership, but if they're not working with their clients on AI and leadership, I want you to see that talk isn't necessarily a right fit, because it's attracting someone interested in AI and leadership when that coach doesn't necessarily focus in that area. So really keeping it clear on choosing those topics that bring our right person in, and then putting it in this framework makes it feel like magic happens. There's 3 layers of connection we want to create. And the first one is connection with you, which is through that expert positioning, which is through some of those materials, your story, your energy. The next piece is connection with others. So this could be breakout rooms. It could be, one of my favorite things to do, and I shared this on a call too, is when we're in person, is I ask them to look to the person to the right and to the left and say, I am so glad you get to sit next to me. Just because it breaks the ice, it's kind of funny, and they start to feel like, okay, I'm in the right place. I'm with nice people. You also want them to be able to see themselves and connect with the content. Ideally be shaking their head as they're going through it with you, saying, oh yeah, or that's a client example, I can resonate with that. And most people don't think about this. They think, I've got to tell the audience all this, rather than thinking, how do I create these inner connections on multiple different levels? And this is more of an advanced strategy to think about, but it's important, even if it's your first speaking engagement, to start thinking about even maybe, okay, I'm going to think about today, how do I create connection with me as the speaker? And then maybe the next time you build on something else. When you have your content structured and you have a talk that converts, we brought the right people in the room, we have the right content, we have it structured in a way, we naturally activate our audience instead of only educating them, which is what we talked about earlier. Most coaches educate. I know I did it for the longest time, and that's people would leave and say, oh, that was the best talk ever. I'm going to go do some of the things. While that's wonderful, it's actually setting them up for failure, because if it was just about the information, if it was just about the book, there'd be one diet book and one self-help book. Everybody be ideal, weight, and happy. And there's probably 1,000 new books on each of those topics every day. So you want to activate them to take action, to have a conversation with you or work with you where they can actually create the results rather than just being in that learning cycle. When you have a talk that converts, you feel confident after each speaking engagement. Every time you speak, you can count on, and we can do the numbers, but looking at how many clients you will likely get as a result of being in front of 30 people. Because we get it down to that much of a science where we can say, you want 5 clients? Cool, let's get you in front of this many people based on leveraging this framework. And when you do it this way, it naturally brings your audience to the point of where they're excited to hear your offer. They're like on the edge of their seat. What do I do next? Is what they're wondering. When you skip this part, you end up over-educating them. And I know nobody's ever had a room like this. I know I've been in rooms like this where I'm like, come on, just at least pretend you're awake. That's not very nice to the speaker. But it's when you've given way too much and you haven't given it in a way that they can see themselves or interact with the content with you, or it might even be a wrong fit topic. So share on a scale of 1 to 10 where you'd rate yourself, with a 10 being, oh my gosh, totally nailing this, and a 1 being, Krista, I think I've been overeducating. I really need to learn to talk that converts process to be able to take my speaking to get clients to the next level. So 10 would be totally nailed this. I get clients every time. 1 would be, hey, this is a great area for me to focus on learning a framework that I can use on repeat. And I say a 1, a 3, a 1, a 5, okay, a 7. Beautiful numbers here. The next part that we're going to look at is a very fun 5-letter S word. And I say that kind of jokingly. I love sales myself because I see sales as service. I know not everybody sees it that way. So we've had your great talk. Now we want that to naturally lead to sales. How does that happen? The way, if you're pre-6 figures, I recommend you leading to a sales conversation with you. Just because we don't want to pitch from the stage, we want to master this first, and then we can master pitching from the stage or selling things, but there's a lot of variables that go into it. So you want to have, really, when it looks at sales, you want to have an authentic, measurable sales process. You'll notice everything that I'm talking about is really looking at our business with a systems mindset. What is your sales system? What is your sales process? And just like we spoke about earlier, spaghetti, while maybe great for a meal, is not ideal for this. We teach our clients a 6-step process that is a coach-like framework that, just like we teach for speaking to get clients, it also naturally leads the person to a powerful choice at the end of the conversation to say, yes, I want to work together, or no, I'm totally fine where I am. But you want to have this so it's authentic, measurable, and sales. And yes, that can be all in one sentence together. When you have a sales process you feel good about and someone heard you speak, you're going to get to the point where you're converting 75 or more % of the conversations you have into clients. You're going to actually look forward to them. You're going to feel excited because guess what? You get to coach more people when you have more clients. That is a beautiful thing. And your free talk has now officially become a paid talk. Because that one client, that 5 client, however many it is, they're excited to go that next journey and, maybe be a client for the next 3 years, depending on, how you work with clients. When you don't have a sales process you love in place, you're going to reinforce old stories. You're not going to have clients. You might even have some doubt and your fear starts to grow because, again, it's that inner critic saying, are you sure you can really do this? Maybe you should go back to your job. Are you sure you can really do this? Maybe you should just stick to your lower goals because those are safer. So share, or actually make note on in your paper where you would say you rate yourself on this, so you have this for record. As far as where you would rate yourself, a 10 is, Krista, I love sales. I look forward to sales, and I convert the vast majority, definitely the majority of those people to clients. A 1 would say, Krista, there's some big opportunities for me to really focus on not only a system, but maybe even mindset around it. And I see 4 and 1 and 2. Okay, fabulous. And another 2. Okay. And I want you to see you're in very good company with each and every one of you. Like, all the numbers are very similar. So I hope nobody leaves this saying, oh my gosh, Krista, I'm totally screwed. I gave myself 2s on everything. And I don't think you would. This is a group of coaches. Even if you had a 2 on everything, that's great because now you know where to focus. You don't have to say, I don't know what to do to grow my business. You say, I see 6 places I can choose 2 and go from there. So it's actually a gift. The last piece we'll look at is having transformational coaching programs. So I talk about the way we coach our clients is high ticket and also high impact. So it's not just about the dollars. I mean, that's wonderful, but it's really making sure that we have those high transformation, high impact programs. And, some of the elements you'll want to think about. I know in coach training school, they taught me you get, do 3 months and 6 months and then get 2 coaching calls a month. And like, that's your coaching package. That's a beautiful place to start. And what I'll tell you is in today's market, there's a lot more that you want to think about and consider. The buyer is a different buyer than even was a year ago or 2 years ago. People are really want to know that you have designed your program with them in mind. For example, one of the things we offer with our clients when we work together is I actually do, well, there's 2 things I'll share with you to kind of stretch your mind. One is I offer Voxer access to me in all of our programs, which is essentially messenger access where they can message me anytime. If they message me in the middle of the night, I'm probably not going to respond in the middle of the night, but most clients don't do that. But when they have a question, because I learned that my client is making CEO decisions that they're not used to making. So it can feel hard. And many times they just need a quick feedback in between calls to be able to continue their momentum. So I offer Voxer access to me, to our clients. That's not something that every coach out there does. But I also am impatient. I want to help our clients go fast. So anytime, they need a little question, should I hire the person? Does this topic work? I can give great or quick feedback and they can keep moving forward. The other thing we offer in our programs too that's different is we have what we call content review sessions where clients, and this is not coaching related, so this is where we bring some of the consulting piece into our offers too, which you may or may not choose to do, but our clients can submit their talk and I'll actually evaluate it, give them feedback on that in our content review, and other clients can come and listen, and people do that all the time, even when they don't have content to be reviewed, because they want to learn. They want to say, oh, what did Jennifer get? Oh, she got that feedback. Okay, cool. That helps me understand how to do that thing in my talk. And so, and that's just something we heard from clients a lot, was they wanted feedback. They didn't want to just build a talk and then go out and present. They wanted feedback to know, did I follow the framework? Could I do my call to action different? That kind of thing. So think about your program through the lens of your ideal client, how you love to serve, and what can you uniquely offer them that positions you as the person that they're going to say, oh my gosh, heck yes, I need that. It's like you're in my head, is what you want them to say. You need that thing that's maybe not even being offered currently. When you have an average, and I would say average because that's what I had for a long time, just the very, and maybe standard coaching programs, you're going to notice that you have inconsistent client results because you have some that take action, some that get results, some that don't. And you're also going to notice that you don't feel like you've got a way to serve them that feels really good. So that kind of incongruence carries through. Your clients won't renew. I have an amazing client that I've worked with from, he just started his business. He's now 3 years into his business and is crossing the $500,000 mark. And I would tell you that, not that he's a slow learner, because he's absolutely not, but there was just always more to do. And since we were working together, we always saw that next level that was available together. And I could say, okay, that's what we need next. So I was able to lead him through the process in an intentional way of building his business. You also will notice that when you don't have these transformational programs, so you're chasing clients. It feels like, oh gosh, there's a person out there, I'm going to go tackle them. They look screwed up. They need coaching. And I'm kidding, but that can be how it feels sometimes. It's like, oh, I got to go get new clients versus let's love the heck out of our current clients and help them break through to that next level. And when your program is designed in a way, and we have, can help you build this out piece by piece, and very strategically, you feel really in alignment because you know that your program is serving deeply. It's meeting that person with what they most need, not just, what maybe another coach offered their people, which is great. But if you're serving different people and you're a different person than that coach, it probably makes sense to look at different elements. You are genuinely excited each time the client says yes, and I really want you to hear this, to investing in themselves through your program. They're not investing in you. They're not giving me money. They're not giving you money. They are investing in themselves through your program. You also get these beautiful R's: referrals, renewals, and raving fans. And it's fun when your clients get results, when they have those breakthroughs. I mean, that's why we're here, is to help them, support them to achieve that. And so share in the chat real quick where you would say, I know I'm asking you to do this kind of quickly, but where you fall on the spectrum of a 10 being, oh my gosh, I'm very confident about my offers. I'm a 10, I'm a 10, I'm a 10. I'm legitimately so excited because I know this is designed just for them when they say yes. And a 1 is, hey, Krista, I think it might be time for me to revisit my offers or visit them maybe for the first time. And say, look really through that lens of how do I feel like, and just know confidently they're getting so much incredible value. And I see some ones, okay, 6 to 8, 6 to 7. A 1. I was wondering if we were going to get, usually somebody will do a decimal point. So I was trying to hold out and see if anybody had I'm a 6.23 or something, but I think we've got a lot of straight shooters, I would say, on the call today, which is fantastic. And so now when you look at your Speak to Profit framework, what you can see here is this is why, most people only teach the talk that converts, that fourth section there. Here's how you get up and speak, but they don't talk about all the other pieces. And you need to have all of those if you legitimately want to monetize speaking, where you're sharing your message and welcoming clients. And I saw that out there, that so many people were doing bits and pieces, but not the whole thing. And that's where this whole process was born. And so let me peek at what the time it is. Let's see, could we do a breakout room and maybe do, just for the sake of time, do 2 people in a room, if we could do, or we'll do 3 people in a room, because I know sometimes people aren't able to join, and share when you get into your breakout room, where will you likely get stuck? Okay, so you take this roadmap. Where are you likely to get stuck? And then also, what's possible for you when you have all of these pieces? So where will you get stuck, and what's possible for you when you have these put together? All right, and I can put that into the chat as well once we go into the breakout rooms, just so everybody will have that. And then if we could do 3 people in each room and do about 5 minutes. So if you all could just kind of watch, once you get in your room, go ahead and dive in. The person with the shortest hair can go first. I know, and I see some people laugh. I said one time the person with the shortest name could go first, and there was somebody named Pam, and she added her full name. She changed it from Pam to Pamela, and I was like, "That's cheating. That's cheating." When I said that. So I say that. But if it's possible to break into rooms, then, and we'll do 3 people for about 5 minutes, and again, share where will you likely get stuck and what's possible when you have all these pieces. Person with the shortest hair gets to be the first person. All right.
I resumed recording.
Perfect. Thank you for doing that. So tell me in the chat, what's possible for you when you have all these pieces in place? Share with me some of the goodness maybe your co-conspirators in the breakout room shared as well, things that they'd be able to do. And so I see Catherine was in a really awesome group. She said everybody made some really good points. But what would be possible when you have all these pieces together? You have your talk, your getting book system, your offers, and your sales, and that 10x identity really rocking the stage. What are some of the cool things that you might experience? And share that in the chat, and I'll wait for 1 or 2 of those, and then we'll jump in. But trickle down economics. I could use additional client income to pay 2 support staff. Beautiful. Yes. And I think of everybody's coaching business as almost your own mini economy that you get to create and bring in people that have aligned values and that you love supporting as well. More clients to enjoy what I do. And I'm going to take some of this information to my mentees. Absolutely awesome. And really looking for being able to create this as this becomes your only marketing system, or one of your only ones that you need to create big growth. You don't have to worry about social media algorithms standing on your head for 20 minutes to, do certain things or achieve certain goals. You actually get to share your message and fill your programs. And so I want you to know, that all of this is absolutely possible for you. And I shared, earlier, Mandy over here was a client who had a 90-day goal. Hers wasn't around income, but it was around surpassing at least 300 people hearing her speak. And when she did that, she also brought in her highest income, yet And I want you to know Shayna is an awesome coach and came in with not having a lot of clients, and then realized that she actually could get to the place where she was living off of her coaching business income. So I share this because it's easy to think all of this is available for someone out there, but not for me. And I want you to know, if you're called to speak, and I believe it's a calling, this can be your path to creating that fast growth. So you might have showed up today for a million reasons. It might have been that you're tired of trying to figure out every marketing hack. You want to do more of what you love and less of what kills your energy, which is chasing those shiny objects. You might also feel stuck and scattered because it just feels like too much and is taking too long. But you might have also showed up because you know in your heart that you're meant to succeed and you're meant to make this big impact, and you're on a mission to do really big things. And so the great news is you don't have to figure all this out yourself. You don't have to figure out the scripts or how to do this. And it doesn't have to feel like this on a regular basis. It can absolutely feel much more step by step when you're partnering with someone who can help you put this in place really quickly. And so at every juncture, we always have two choices. We can either choose the first choice, which is great if you're patient. I'm impatient, so this is not a great choice for me. But if this is great, if you're willing to, it's okay to be in the same place in 6 months in your business. You're okay with figuring it out yourself and taking your time. Or you can choose the easy way, which I put a star by the one I recommend, which is when you say, Krista, being in the same place in my coaching business in 6 months or a year makes me kind of feel sick to my stomach. I'm ready to serve more clients and grow my business and grow my impact. That is when you're willing to take new action, because when you take new action, guess what? You create new results, and new results create those new breakthroughs. So for those of you that are ready to go faster, you are interested in seeing what it might look like, I have opened up space for 10 no-cost strategy sessions where we will spend about 30 minutes together looking at your goals, looking at some obstacles in the way, talk about some action steps you can take, and then I'll also share with you the ways we support clients and see if there might be a right fit. And this is really a call about giving you clarity, but also helping you get to that beautiful future place that we talked about at the very beginning, where you can welcome in, 2, 3, 5, whatever your ideal number is, by leveraging speaking and putting the systems in place in your coaching business. So you'll see that on your action guide. You can also go to makeyourmark.com/strategy session, and it'll open up a little form that you can apply for one of those 10 spots. And then I know we are literally at the top of the hour, and so I will turn it over. I'm happy to stay on as long as there's questions beyond the completion. And I also know you might be talked out as well, because we've been here together for 90 minutes. So I will turn it over, and then glad to stay on as long as there are questions.
Thank you so much, Krista. That was really informative, and I took a lot of notes, so thank you. And it's very generous of you that you're going to stay for questions. So if you allow it, if you want to open your microphones and start asking questions, and we can keep the recording for a couple minutes.
Thank you. And I know too, I don't want to put pressure on anybody, because I know brains can get cooked when you've been on Zoom for, like many of us are probably on Zoom before this and Zoom after this. So glad to answer any questions if you have them. Otherwise,
I have people in the chat telling you, thank you,
oh,
Krista.
yeah,
Thank you for an informative session. Thank you. Some people need to run, but everyone thanking you for the information.
perfect.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, this was a whole lot of fun. I appreciate the energy of the group and being able to connect with everybody.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Krista. That was wonderful.